I mean, is there really anything that ages well?
Fine.
I was just about to say that.
Alright, well, I don't drink that French shit, so you know more about that than me.
Right. So, what do you guys remember from last time?
We finished up the fight with the pirate ghouls or ghoul pirates, the dramatic, and then we rolled into town and immediately started looking around for a job, and we all failed miserably until either Kyrus or Bjornir that heard about this supposed noble. They kept bugging everybody every morning to go on a little quest to. So while Varg went out hunting and failed, the others stayed in town to catch up with us. Learned that someone had stolen something from him and was hiding out north of the town with some hired muscle. And we decided to take the job. And in order to cut a day off our travel time, Varg expertly navigated a cross country path to get us there quicker. And we camped out for the night. We were set to attack them in the next morning.
I think that's a pretty good recap. And as I remember it, you guys, yeah, like you said, you're pretty much set to enter the area where their camp is supposed to be next morning. Right. So yeah, there's.
I-
I was just going to say, their camp is basically just to the north of you, and there is a river, but this is a small river and it's higher up towards the mountain, so it's probably not going to be too much of a deal to deal with that. What was it you were going to say?
I was just gonna say, I remember it being, you said something about like being biting cold as well. No snow though, so the temperature is definitely an issue.
Yeah, I believe it was well below freezing. I think it was
Yeah.
uh, -4 degrees Celsius during the day. But yeah, so today, as you head out, by the time dawn breaks, there's still not a lot of activity in the woods. There's still no snow. It's a little bit, it's still below freezing, but the wind isn't nearly as high today. Yeah, pretty much a nice clear day to head out. And there's any number of ways that you could basically just walk up to the camp until someone identifies you, or there are any number of other tactics you may wish to employ to get there.
Yeah, I think as we're sitting down by the morning campfire when everyone's up, maybe having something to eat before we head out. I think Harald says, "How should we approach this? If they have sentries posted, they with bows, they might shoot us before we get there. We could sneak, but I don't know the area, or we can just charge them and hope for the best."
Well, I say we charge them and hope for the best, surprise and all. And my sneak is only 21, so I think that's probably out of the.
We will know
As a
better
seasoned
when.
raider, hitting them hard and fast usually works.
Yeah, we will see what the river looks like when we get there. That could be an issue as well. In this temperature, getting covered in water could severely slow us down.
Yeah, I was going to say the river. If it, like I said, it's not probably going to be difficult to cross. But if you get any water on you, then you could suffer some exposure there. But yeah, you could just run right up to them, or you could do some kind of reconnoiter the region, or however now that word is pronounced, kind of like scout the area, and get a better idea of things. Or you can just run right up to them and basically smack whoever tries to kill you. I only bring up options in case you are unaware of them, but I'm sure you guys are aware. You're all pretty well spec'd for punching people in the face. So if you go with that option, it isn't necessarily the worst.
I think once we approach the camp, we will have a better idea of the lay of the land, and then we can make any strategic decisions necessary. But they did tell us that we can kill anyone who opposes us, so we don't need to worry about survivors. And I think, yeah, after breakfast, Harald kneels down in the snow next to the fire with his axe and says a short prayer to his patron deity, asking for a favor in the upcoming battle.
Varg looks over at him and has to put in a good word for him.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
Right. And just to be sure, because I don't think I've heard you in a while. All right, you're here, right? Traffic.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I was making sure. Yeah. So you guys head out, and if you want, because I was also setting stuff up while you guys were planning out. You're going with basically approach and then encounter things as they encounter you.
Yeah, I think so. It's more like because this river is in the way, we need to figure out what that looks like and where the camp actually is. And then once we're in convenient charging distance, it's probably just run like hell and kill anything that moves.
Right. Just a moment.
Oh yeah, in case you can't really tell, my throat is completely shot to hell today, so I'm not gonna be able to do any character voices.
That's fine. All right.
My immersion.
I'll just go ahead since you guys are so close. Yeah, you basically just wander north until you encounter the river. We'll go ahead and move us over there.
Oh shit, I see some trees.
That looks like a Ford or two.
If it's a Ford F-150 Raptor, then I'll take it. I'll call dips. So I could use me a good pickup truck.
Well, if you need a good pickup truck, then I would suggest a Chevy or a Dodge instead of a.
That's true. But considering the price they sell for here in Sweden, I could just flip it, sell it second hand, and then buy a proper car and a pickup instead. All right. Now I'm guessing the town we were in doesn't have any black powder weapons.
Oh yeah, the town you were in, you didn't see any of those.
All right. Well, that's probably for the best anyway. I don't think this character could carry around a cannon.
All right. So yeah, you could agree to approach any point on the river, or you could go up to a high area and uh, and see if you can make out anything.
Can we tell how fast the water's moving?
Yeah, it's rushing by at a pretty good rate. Um, the it would probably it's only about waist deep at the deepest part. Um, but it would probably carry away anything pretty fast if it were dropped in.
So if it's moving fast, then I assume it's making a fair bit of noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise cover. You can hear it from good distance away.
All right, Varg's going to use the sound of the river to move up here through the bushes and just look. Just look out across this way to see what he sees.
All right, give me a quick perception check.
Yeah, Harl's gonna do the same next to him. Just hiding in the bushes, just looking out.
I hope your perception checks. Nice.
Oh, you got a crit. All right, let me redo this real quick. All right, that's what you guys are able to make out with your excellent perception.
Yeah, traffic. You gotta drag your token out on the map if you haven't already.
I did. My token's just shitty.
Oh yeah, I see it now. It's by that It's actually better camouflage. I think you should get a bonus to your stealth roll because it's so well hidden in the grass.
Oh wow, yeah, I had to look for it. Yeah, it's difficult with uh some of the tokens.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
try and find a better one.
no, or you can just if you have GIMP or Photoshop or something, you can just take that token, then just add a border around it, like a red or a blue border, and then it should pop real nice. But yeah, as we're looking at across the river or creek or whatever, and spot all of these, and yeah, Harald's gonna quietly call out to the others, inform them about. Um, I see 4 people on the cliffs, sentries, and I try to gestures as quietly as possible, or yeah, stealthily as possible to where the gods are.
Well, since they're apart, I suggest we split up.
It's not very it's not a very big distance between the rocks over here. Should be an easy athletic check to jump across. We'll probably have cover. We'll just sneak up to those ones on the right side.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the athletics rules. 4 meters sounds like a reasonable distance, at least for Brawner.
Yeah, the fun thing with a waterfall is that if you fall, then not only will you take fall damage, you'll also be drowning, as you'll hit the drink, unless there's any sharp rocks underneath,
And you'll be in freezing cold water.
weighed down by armor.
Yeah, that's really the only danger with, this water isn't moving as fast as a rapid or anything like that. The only real danger with how fast it's moving is that if you go unconscious, you'll be carried away pretty quickly. There's also the fact that it'll get you wet, and over time, that could be bad for freezing and stuff like that.
I mean, no one has died of hypothermia, right?
Yeah, that's a myth.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm just furiously scrolling down to the skill so I can see what the acrobatics are.
Hypothermia was a myth invented by the companies that make jackets.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, it worked. We all got coats.
Joke's on you, I got a trench coat.
I mean, has anybody ever met anybody that died of hypothermia? I haven't.
No, but I heard they're pretty chill people.
Oh man.
Yeah, so on page 40, you have jumping for the athletics.
Yeah, on my movement thing, it says running jump horizontal 5 meters. So
Alright, and let's see. For every full 20% a character has in athletics, he can add an extra 1 meter to a horizontal jump.
Holy shit. I can run and jump horizontally 9 meters, almost 10.
And you know what's funny is imagining a dwarf jumping like 9 meters. You jump like a superhero.
Just don't do a superhero landing or you'll blow out your knees.
If I did a running horizontal jump into an enemy, how much impact damage would they take?
I actually do think they have rules for that. They call it a knockback effect, and it's normally designed for mounts, but I think you could apply it to this as well. And I believe the damage bonus is directly proportional to the movement. So if you jumped 10 meters, I believe that would do 10, like 9 or 10 damage.
Guys, I have a new strategy. Running jumps do more damage than my pickaxe.
I mean, if you want to go full tilt on this and just run, drop kick them, you're more than welcome to do so.
I just need to get like spiky armor.
Yeah, I will also warn you, normally the counter to mounts is you have a braced weapon. So all you need to do is make sure your enemies aren't using spears or anything like that, and then you can just absolutely destroy them, like vaporize them with your dwarf jumping.
Alright. It sounds stupid enough to work, so let's try this then.
That was
you all wanna-
actually in any of y'all ever read the is it what you pronounce his name series, the Hero in the Forgotten Realms?
Oh, is it Dritzt?
Dritz, yeah, Dritz Duerden or something.
Yeah.
Y'all have read that series?
I haven't read all of it, but I've read a little and I know about it.
There's a dwarf, I think he's like the bodyguard to the king or something, but he's like covered in spiky armor, and that's basically how he attacks. He just jumps right in the middle of enemies and just starts thrashing around like a mosh pit.
Yep, it's always a good time.
Now I understand why Chaos have spikes on their armor.
Yeah, that's why everyone in history puts spikes in their armor, usually.
Oh, I thought it was to, carry the lunch, like if you don't want to carry your apple you have after eating dinner, just stick that on one of the spikes or this sandwich and
Yeah.
save for later.
Or, if you're in the whole cannibalism thing, you just stick a baby up there on a spike and you got lunch later.
Damn.
All
That
sorts.
took it. Alright. Well, I am intrigued by this running jump thingamajig, so let's try it. So, yeah, Harald unsheaves his axe again, readies his shield, and says the final prayer to before taking a leap of faith.
All right. Now, if you jump, you'll be on the other side of the river. You can do this and make no attempt to be sneaky, which will pretty much immediately alert at least the two guys you're jumping near. You could also, once you make it across, you could roll to be sneaky and try to avoid that. Are you guys just looking to get across the river and then begin combat, or are you trying to sneak across the river?
If we did it over here, will we be seen?
Yeah, if you, let me see. Yeah, I think anywhere down here. Let me actually unhide my cursor. Yeah, like anywhere around this bottom area, because they're up on a raised position and they're looking down over these trees. They would, unless you're sneaking.
Could circle around and cross over here.
Yeah, that would be an option. You can.
Because then they can't see us, and then they wouldn't be able to see us as long as we stick in this area, ready to move.
Yeah.
And it's like we go up here, jump across, and just kind of hang out this area here. Everybody's across,
Yeah.
and we just bum rush them.
And these guys, normally they would have really good line of sight here, but they're mainly watching this little causeway. And so if you jump over here, they probably wouldn't notice you.
Especially since you got bushes.
So this waterfall on the right is that going downwards, or is it like erased from where we're standing?
Just going this way.
Okay, so it's flowing down towards where we are then.
Yep.
So we would be climbing up there to move over.
Yep.
Which
It looks clear on this side, so we should be able to just go and come out over here.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking around the map to be sure. Let me see.
yeah, because if that whole area there is like up and raised up, then the moment we start climbing and just walking up there, both of them on the both guard positions gonna spot us immediately because we will be out of cover and higher ground.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at other parts of the map right now. I think that actually it flows away from you, so it goes downhill.
Yeah, then we can just scale quietly climb down and then circle around an ambush on
Yep.
the side. Alright. Do we need to roll any stealth or anything to move back and move over there so we don't trip them off?
Well, normally there'd be a noise concern if you were stomping around the woods, but if you go down here, this, and then do a climbing roll to get down, I don't think there's any danger that they would see you given their circumstances.
Yeah, so Harald gives waves at the others and falls back, circles around.
Alright, let me see about this cliff here. Alright, so I think it's just a straight climbing jump. It's or climbing jump, a climbing roll. And so you just roll that, and this will be this is about a 5-meter drop. And so you could potentially take damage from just jumping down or falling down. But it should be a pretty straightforward roll.
Yeah, so I do believe that's a fail if that's a standard. So probably took some impact damage.
Oof.
I'm gonna luck point that.
Yeah. Okay, so it says here that a failure merely indicates that the climb was aborted, and so we'll handle the fumble and then see where to go from there and how to interpret that. All right, so a fumbled climb results in a fall. Therefore, the character. Furthermore, the character cannot attempt an acrobatics roll to reduce falling damage. And this is a relatively short fall, so this will just be 1d6 points of damage to a random location. So if you want to, you can go ahead and roll those.
It did re-roll that critical though.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, so you're all good. So I believe both of you have aborted the climb, and so yeah, that's a mechanic in games that I'm sometimes iffy on, but I think the way we can do of this is you start to climb and then you start to scramble down, and then the rock you're holding onto basically comes out from under you, and you stumble back, um, from the edge. So you can reattempt, since there isn't any circumstance that would prevent you from doing so that I can think of.
All right.
All right.
Climbing down to Electric Boogaloo. Get even worse. How did we do worse?
I mean, at this point, you guys could just craft a barrel and then have yourselves go over the waterfall.
Can I survival my way down?
Survival. I don't know.
Yeah, Harald walks to a different part of the cliff where Bromner went down and tries again. Because that obviously was a better place than he was standing at.
Only for dwarves, apparently.
Okay, so what I think happens is that Harald starts climbing down. Maybe he gets lowers himself over the
All right,
edge.
fuck this. Varg's opening his pack, pulling out his grappling hook and rope.
All right.
He's latching the fucking hook onto a rock and just rappelling down.
Wow. Yeah, so Harald, tries to scale down the wall and probably gets a bit over the edge, starts lowering and then realizes that the footing is so unsteady that he can't really start climbing down any further than just hanging off the ledge. So I think he just lets go and just, falls down, or willingly falls down the however long it is down, take whatever damage.
Yeah, you can do that. Basically just jump down and take the 1d6. And
Yeah.
yeah, Varg can make another roll and just add a level, one step of success, basically, for having the additional rope support. All right.
It's a standard then.
Yep. So Varg finally scrambles to the bottom, and holy shit! And Harald takes 6 damage to his left arm.
Yeah, pretty much just sprains the fucking arm because it has 6 HP on that one.
At least
That
that's your
is,
shield arm.
yeah, that is very unfortunate. Probably lands badly on the shield and just, crushes the elbow or something.
And if you happen to have acrobatics because you jumped off and you didn't fumble, you could roll that to try and mitigate if you have it.
Acrobatics, I see that's probably a professional skill, right?
Yep.
Nah, I don't have it. Could I gamble instead?
And
Could I orate my way to recover from this in any way?
I mean, there was that part of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where he just forgot how to fall, and that was how he learned how to fly.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have low enough intelligence on this character for that.
Yeah. Maybe that's how Kairos does magic. He just forgot the laws of physics.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Unfortunately, I can do first aid on you.
Yeah, so after it lands hard on the ground, you can like visibly or audibly hear like the bone dislocate as it lands, and then he just tries to stand up, rush himself off best he can. But yeah, it looks a bit fucked up.
Varg will do what he can do to try to set it and brace it.
All right, let me see. So I believe this would be actually. Let me double check because I was about to say this is a minor wound, but let me check to see 6 points what that is.
Yeah, it puts me to 0, so that's a serious wound.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm at 0 on that limb right there.
All right, so your arm was completely unfunctional, like you just straight up broke your arm. And yeah, and so Varg, because he got a standard success, he restores the limb to a partial functionality, so you're able to use it. He like splinted it, I assume, but it's still at 0 hit points. It didn't recover any HP. All right, and you can do that. It normally takes 1d3 minutes, but you guys have time to kill at the moment. And luckily, you're right next to a waterfall, so the sound of a shield hitting the ground and a bone snapping has not alerted anyone, it appears.
That's a blessing, small blessing at least. Yeah, and after the arm gets splintered, he looks at Vari and says, "Thank you. It didn't go as planned, but I thought it was faster than climb around here for a bit."
The Varg points back up at the rope and says, "This is why I come."
All right, now if you guys want, you can go ahead and proceed to the jumping point. You got to make this 3-meter jump. Should be fairly simple. Should be.
We thought getting down the hill would be fairly simple.
Yep. Nature has destroyed this. Has done everything it can to destroy this mission so far.
I swear,
Alright.
I'll fucking laugh if I fail this roll and fall into the river.
I will too.
Just
I'm just hoping I don't. All right.
at least you have your
Varg
priorities.
is jumping.
Well, that's a jump.
Oh, Varg's across.
Yep. Oh my god.
The fucking dwarf just does the Michael Jordan, air dunk from Space Jam, just flying
Oh
through the
my
air, you know.
Yeah, it's like a crouching tiger, hidden dragon where Barnier just starts foot pedaling in air as he just slowly floats across the river, and then he just gracefully lands on the other side.
Yeah, I have no doubts that I'll just fail and fall into the water now. Fucking called it.
Oh my god. All right, let me see here what this what this means exactly.
I honestly think it would have been more efficient if Brahman just threw Harald across the river rather than him trying to jump.
That's quite a
Well,
possibility.
I mean, you haven't spent the luck point yet, so
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of tempted to do that, but also because it's so fucking like karmic justice for this to happen. You know, I'm kind of interested to see what happens because of it.
All right, let me see. All right, so what's your maximum jump distance?
4 meters.
All right, yeah, that is unfortunate. That means that you do fall into the middle of the river.
Is that with your athletics boosting it at all? Wasn't every 20 athletics you get an extra meter?
Yeah, I only have 35, so it's already boosted. I think that's what the character says. Character sheet says, you know, running jump horizontal.
Yeah.
Oh, is the extra from athletics the 3 already incorporated into that?
I can have a look real quick. Oh yeah, it's already incorporated because I changed the others and the training experience, and now my running jump is 7 meters instead of the 4 when I added 50 to it.
So that means mine's only. I didn't realize it was already incorporated, so mine's only 6. Still,
Mine's only 6. What the hell, man?
that's still max damage from my pick.
Yeah, no, running dropkick. That's your new combat style.
I mean, it started as a joke, but I'm really tempted to try it.
Yeah, now you just need a lucha libre mask, you know. Have a couple of peasants carrying around poles with 3 rubber rope straps, you know, between them, and you can do fucking go full Rey Mysterio on this shit.
All right. So if I could get Harald to go ahead and make an endurance check, just right. Yep, I think you are good for the time being. You don't suffer any immediate exposure, but basically because you're in what is your armor? Are you wearing like fur or leather?
So I think what I'm currently wearing is cured leather on the legs and the abdomen, and then I think I said something like maybe a fur cloak or something, but that doesn't on my shoulders, but that doesn't give any armor. It's just for decoration.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, fortunately, these guys are camped here, so in theory, they should have a campfire. Kill them quick enough, you can just camp by the fire until you dry out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys are probably about to begin combat, so it probably won't be relevant for the combat. but as long as you're wearing these clothes, you'll have to make an exposure test every 15 minutes or take fatigue damage.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm probably knowing how badly I rolled so far this night. I'll probably be dead by the end of this combat encounter anyway, so it's all good. Fucking hell, man. Starting off strong tonight. I like it. You know, who doesn't like a challenge? You know. So
Yep.
was I about halfway in the water then?
Yeah, you'd be basically right in the middle of the stream.
Alright. Is it deep or like can you walk through it?
It's about waist deep, so yeah, you can walk.
Okay. Yeah. So the two of you hear the loud splash as Harald just fumbles face first into the stream, and like a like a dog coming up out of the water and just shakes his head, gets the hair out of his way, and beard is dripping with water, and it looks seriously pissed by the fact that he's been miserable so far and failing everything. And he raises his axe and points forward in the direction where the sentries are, and starts wading out to the creek.
Yeah, and luckily, all of this transpired between two large waterfalls, so the noise hasn't stood out at all.
Yeah, and you definitely hear the slouching sound of water inside leather boots every time he takes a step. So it's that it's that stupid noise.
It would be hilarious if you decided to try and silently kill these guys, and that's what they hear right before they die. Just the leather squeaking, and they're like, "What's that?" And then their throat gets slit. But yeah, I think I'm going to get a refill on my coffee real quick, so I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
All right. Yeah, honestly, if it weren't for the waterfalls that were drowning out all the noise, yeah, I would have spent a luck point, so it wouldn't have been a disaster for us to approach it. But because of all the ambient noise, no one heard the falls. I figured, it'd be funner if I just let it be this way. See just how fucking miserable I can make this endeavor.
I'm gonna get a refill too. Be right back.
All right, I'm back.
I'll come back. No, she just went AFK.
Right.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Alright, are we all here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Alright. I guess Momo went AFK again.
Oh, I thought I hit the button. Yeah, I'm here.
Alright. So we are across the ponds by the look of it. And they don't know we're here yet. How far is it upwards? Like what kind of angle slope are we looking at here to get up to where the sentries are?
There'd be no roll. You can walk up it just fine.
Alright, so that's 11 from where Harl is standing. I have a run of 16, so what I could do is I spend an action point to run. Would that be an action point or just as part of the movement to run up there and then smack someone in the head? Because I actually have to take the almost the full run action up through a bit of an incline to get there.
Yeah, I'm going to look to be sure. I'm mostly certain that you can move 8 meters as part of an attack, but I'm going to check just to make sure because I think charge in this game, they basically to do a charge, I think you have to like spend a whole turn just running, and then the next turn you meet them in combat, and because you basically build up a movement bonus, which you gets to influence your roll. But let me see how far you can move with a single attack.
How would I roll to running jump into someone? Just athletics? Would I still need to roll to hit?
Yeah, I can look that up too.
I guess it'd be technically an unarmed attack.
Unarmed? I've got 2 of them.
Yes, but you're using your feet.
What if instead of drop kicking, I just like run and jump and like body slam?
I mean, at that point, you might as well just Superman jump into them, fist first.
I mean, depending on how I hit them, maybe I could just jump into them and knock them off the side of the cliff.
I like
Yeah.
how this paragraph begins with, "There are some animals, monsters, and even people who leap upon their victims in order to knock them prone." It's like, yeah, we're talking about Bronir now. Yeah, so this would be, if you wanted to leap and attack them, this would be a leaping attack is an opposed roll of the leaper's athletics versus the defender's brawn or evade skill. If the leaper wins, the defender's automatically knocked prone with the attacker astride them. If the attack fails, the defender has weathered or sidestepped the impact. And if the winner of the opposed roll achieves one or more levels of success over his opponent, they may select suitable special effects as per normal combat. And it keeps going. Let me keep reading. Yeah, it doesn't seem that it does any damage. The thing that I was referring to earlier, which I was calling knockback, apparently only applies. That's where you can knock someone around if you do more damage than an attack which imparts more damage than the size of the recipient will result in them being knocked back. Is what I was thinking of.
Oh.
Alright, so what are you guys planning to do?
Arnold's gonna run up to the one furthest away, and then give him a couple of good smacks with the axe. That's what he's gonna do.
I guess Varg will run to the guy next to him.
Alright, so I think what we'll do is we will go ahead and roll initiative, and then before we begin the initiative order, we will resolve everyone's surprise action. So you can go ahead and move yourself wherever you want to be for your surprise action.
All right. Can you put the tracker up?
Yeah, give me a second.
You can have two if you want.
Yep. Let me clean this up real quick. Alright, should be good now.
I think he took mine off.
Yeah, let me see if I can add it real quick.
What kind of weapons, now that we're up close with them, what kind of weapons do they have?
Yep, the two near you, you can see they're both brandishing short bows, and they have a club that is at their side. There we go. Alright, so we can go ahead and do Harold's turn, and you're dealing with a surprised opponent. So, what do you want to do with your first, your surprise action?
Absolutely murder the hell out of them, if at all possible.
Yep, you can go ahead and roll your combat style if you want.
That looks alright.
Alright. And so, if you have the combat guide open, the way we were doing this before was, you know, you would have gained 4 special effects, and it turned out that wasn't the correct way of doing it. You have a successful roll, and the enemy has no successful rolls because they, they're unaware, they're not defending themselves. So, if you look at the differential rolls table in the combat guide, I believe this nets Harold 1 level of success for doing whatever he wants. And so you can choose a special effect that you can put onto this guy.
Alright, I'm just flipping through it real quick.
Yeah, take all the time you need. I need to really figure out a better way to sort them, and I wanted originally to sort them between melee and ranged, but it turns out that it's actually a lot more complicated than just that, because there's some abilities that you can use them with any weapon, and then others where if you use it with a melee weapon, like choose location, for example, um, you can spend a special effect to get choose location, and if you're in melee, you can hit them wherever you want. But choose location is not available to you if you're a ranged user unless you crit. And so there's some little things like that that can get a little confusing to remember. But I've noted all of that, everything like that, in the handout as it exists.
Alright. If that's the case, then I guess choose location head. Just going in for that quick head strike.
Yep, you can do that. So yeah, now that you've chosen special effect, you can roll damage, and you already have your location picked up.
8. Not too bad.
Nice. Yeah, so he's not. They're basically wearing cloth armor, negligible, and your hit basically cracked his head open and falls over unconscious.
Alright.
And now Varg, if you would like to do something like anything.
All right, I'm going to attack this guy with my spear. Try to murderize him too.
Yep. All right. Let me again just sure. All right. I think that might still count as a success because he's not defending himself. We'll go with that for the time being, and you can go ahead and put one special effect on him if you want.
All right, I'll do choose location and go for the head.
All right. Yeah, and that absolutely murders him. You just go right through his head. Yep, and I think Bronir technically has a surprise action, but not too much to do at this point.
Well, there are two more to be surprised over there.
Yep.
Now that we're up here, can we see we're here?
Oh yeah, I can go ahead and reveal that.
You know, that's a bit more than 4.
Yep, you were told that this guy had at most 5 people with him.
Well, I may not be good at math, but that looks more than 5 to me.
Looks
I
like
mean-
8 to me.
Technically, there's only 5 near him.
I mean, if you want to get that specific, sure. As a Browner, as you run off, you see the 2 guards, sentries being dispatched in a fairly brutal manner, and yeah, you're standing there, your with your equipment, looking in your dwarfish stature.
Goatee.
All right. So I think we'll just begin the initiative order from the top then. The other.
That's a free act.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say, Bromner, pick up the bow and kill them.
Can I use bows?
Well, you could roll unarmed and then half that and use the bow if you really wanted to.
I mean, am I missing anything, or is unarmed really the only combat style I have?
Let me check.
Yeah, I've got unarmed and berserker.
Yeah, you. Did you never pick a? I mean, it's an optional thing. You don't have to have a combat style. But did you never pick one, Bronir, where you wanted to go hand to hand, or did you not mean to do that?
I guess it's just something I missed.
Yeah. We can go over that between games, but yeah, normally if you want to use like an axe, you get you basically build a combat style around axes, and you can give it a trait that helps you like cut through shields or something like that. You can also have multiple combat styles, so you could have like a defensive axe style and then an offensive axe style. Unarmed is also like there are actually a bunch of special effects if you look in the list that are unarmed only, where you can like take a person's weapon, or you have flurry, which allows you to hit people multiple times per round. And so you can build like a solid unarmed fighter, but if you're going to use weapons, then it's better to have a combat style so that you don't deal with any penalties. But yeah, we can handle all that after if you guys want, or I mean, whatever your preference is.
I guess I'll just play unarmed until I figure it out. I just won't use my pickaxe then.
All right, what do you want to do with your turn at this point?
I could try to shoot one with a bow, but if they don't know we're here yet, then chances are I'm probably gonna miss with the bow, and then they'll just know.
Yeah, well, there was it actually would be possible for you guys to knock these two out, since no one's on alert, without them knowing. But there's no sneak roll made or anything like that, so the sound of their head splitting open and one of them being impaled has, by this point, it's alerted everyone that you can see right now.
Alright, screw it. Might as well try and shoot one then.
Alright, let me just sort this out real quick. I'm going to add the short bow to your character sheet. I think that might be the... Well, actually, I'm probably thinking of it backwards. Just roll your unarmed, and then we'll see. We'll go from there. Okay, yeah.
I know how to jump, not use bows.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's just a miss. A fumble, you can injure yourself or destroy the weapon if you're using a bow, but I think this is just a miss. Yeah, well... Oh, and the other thing, if you look on the combat guide, you can use multiple actions per cycle in the round, but you can only have one proactive action. So normally you can only hit once, and there are some exceptions to that with special effects and like that flurry thing I was talking about with unarmed people. And you can also have a combat style that allows you to hit multiple times per round, but normally it's a one-round thing. But yeah, you could choose to move or do any number of other actions, but that would be your proactive action for this round, or you can hold your others.
Since it's on the edge of the map, is does this connect over here to just going down?
Yeah, I think you could do that. There'd also probably be pretty good cover for you running that direction, because the cliff gets higher and higher up there, and so they wouldn't have as good of an angle on you. So if you want, you can go ahead and spend an action and move yourself as far as you can that way. I can. Your movement sheet might be on your character sheet. Movement.
If I run, I can go 19.
All right. So now we'll go down to Harold. Uh, see what he wants to do.
A whole lot, actually. Question is, can I? So I have a sprint of 33.
Yeah, I believe sprint is when it's a proactive action and related to movement. I can look this up if you decide to try and do it, just to be sure. Um, and I believe sprint is if you spend a whole round moving and doing nothing but moving.
Yeah, I was trying to control F in the book, but it didn't give me anything. But yeah, I'll think I do a run. So could I do? Yeah, let me just see here what movements I'm dealing with.
Another thing to consider. Let me see what it's called first. Yeah, there's a cover mechanic. You can basically move to cover if you move to any of these trees, and you can take cover behind them, or you can basically just run towards the enemy.
Yeah, so I did a run action to get over there.
Okay.
So I'm now standing by this tree or bush thing. So I spent an action point earlier for the sneak attack. Do I still have my full action points now, or was that for a separate turn?
The
I
surprise.
don't know how we count it.
Yeah. So this is your first action. The surprise round is separate from the main initiative.
So you cannot spend two action points to run my full run distance and then spend one to attack.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now on page 92 from. Yeah. Okay. So the way I'm seeing this, if your movement, I believe you said was 19.
16.
Oh, 16. That's sorry, my bad. All right. So 16. Anything within 16 meters, you can run up to and attack it. Anything outside of that, you need to spend a move action to get to. And if you spend a move action doing nothing but moving, then you can move your sprint distance.
Okay. So I spent, but will I still be able to attack then if that's the dominant thing?
Yeah, if you sprint, then you won't be able to attack.
Yeah. So basically, what I've done here, I moved from where I stood. I spent 1 point to move to do the run action, which is 16, to get where I am right now, and then I'm within attack distance from the main dude. If I spend one more point to attack him, because he's within that, so will that be allowed? Because I did the previous run action.
You have to wait till the next cycle, and then you can do that.
But all right, can I still run up to there then? But I can't. Or yeah, I'm a bit confused how this works.
Yeah, if you open, I've kind of outlined how this works in the combat guide. If you look at the top of the combat guide where it says combat actions, it says proactive actions, and then it says only one proactive action may be attempted per cycle. If no proactive action is taken, the character is assumed to have used the dither action. So basically, you waste that action point. Movement and attack are both proactive actions. So you can't move and attack in the same round under normal circumstances.
Okay, so because I spent my action point to move, then can I do the sprint instead of just a simple run?
Yeah, you can do a sprint. Yeah, the only thing is if you move your sprint distance, because sprint isn't, sprint is basically just your maximum movement. And so you'll just use a move action to move your sprint distance, and that'll be how you do that.
Okay, yeah. Then what Vari sees is Harald just does a running leap off the cliff, and then just bolts towards the ruins where they camp with action shield drawn. And yeah, that's this point spent. Then.
Now that you're closer, and I can reveal something. And this is the guy you're standing right next to. And he seems pretty surprised to see a large Viking run out of the bushes.
I think most people would be. So he looks fairly competent.
Alright, so that's Harald's turn. You've spent one action point. If there's any... let's see here. Yeah, I think that's all you can do for this round. So if there's nothing else, then we can go to Varg. Oh, you can ward location if you really want to. Do you know how that works?
Yeah, then I'll ward chest. And
Okay. Yeah, you ward your chest, and what weapons are you holding in your hand right now?
the axe and the shield, so I ward with the shield.
Okay. Yeah, all that means is if you parry, you won't be able to use the shield because it's over your chest, and so that's the downside of ward looking. All right.
Yeah, but I still have the axe to parry with. So.
Yep. And now we'll go to Varg.
And since running won't quite get me there, I'll just full sprint. Let's go.
All right. And so I believe now we go to the baddies. All right, so the one in front of Varg is going to brandish a club and try his luck with that.
And Varg will Org will attempt to parry because apparently I didn't put any points at all into evade.
Oh, sorry, I had a noise going on in my background. You wanted to, were you going to, you could basically attempt to parry, or you could take the hit and save your actions, are your main choices. You can look at the combat guide for more ideas on what you can do here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to parry because my evade is only 16. Apparently, I didn't put any.
Yeah, and even though you have to spend an action point to parry, you can potentially do damage to them during it, so it's not too bad.
And so for parrying, I roll my combat skill.
Yep.
That's not.
Alright, so the antagonist wins 1 level of success, is I believe how this is working. So let me look here. Alright, I think he's going to try and use a bash. And so now I'm going to roll location and damage. Alright, that's 4 damage to the right arm. Alright, so that moves you back 1 meter, which I'll go ahead and do. And I believe that'll be, let me try these guys. The other rangers. Or brigands right there. Yeah, so these two guys both attempt to shoot their short bows at Varg, and after they see the opportunity of him being knocked away from their companion, but both of their shots go way wide. I need to look something up real quick. This is getting right interesting rule wise. Okay, so 2 of these brigands are going to try their luck at hitting Harold, and or Harald. And Harald has a couple of options as to how he wants to deal with this. Actually, you don't have to decide until you've actually been hit, so I'll go ahead and roll that.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so one of them just completely fails to hit you. The first one does succeed to hit you, and you can choose to either take that hit, or you can parry it, or you can't really evade actually because you're in a corner, but you can choose to parry or you can choose to tank the hit.
Yeah, I'll try to parry it with my axe.
All right. Oh my gosh, yeah. All right, so let me look this up. Yep, so that'll give you, he succeeded to hit you, but you got a critical, and so you get 1 level of success over him. So, you reduce the damage he has done to you to 0, and you can put a special effect on him.
Alright. So I'm feeling particularly vicious after all this bullshit, so I want to blind opponent.
Alright. Yep, and so blind in this game, and you can actually blind a ranged character as far as I can tell as well, if you have a shiny object to shine in their eyes. And no, I'm not joking apparently. But normally it's like a pocket sand thing where you pick up some dirt or something on the ground, you throw it in their eyes, or you spit some blood in their eyes, something like that. So you can roll your evade skill, or if you're using a shiny object like a shield, polished shield, you can use your weapon style, and so you can roll either of those depending on your situation.
Alright, sorry, I didn't read that, but let me have a quick look.
And blinding in this game, by the way, is pretty brutal. It puts a Herculean modifier onto your skills, and so a standard test becomes a Herculean test. So if you blind an enemy, they're pretty much worthless until they can see again.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one I should take here. Honestly.
Alright, let me look through, see if I can find something to recommend. Alright, let me see. Well, there is withdrawal, which will basically would let you move through his space to get out of the corner. There are a couple other defensive ones which might be useful, so let me look at those. You could damage his weapon or disarm him, and if you disarm him, yeah. What are you gonna say?
I think, yeah, then maybe just disarming works best because, he goes to attack me and I just hook the axe head in his weapon and just rip it out of his hand.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll do an opposed roll. Oh wait. Let's see. Yeah. So he will do an opposed roll of his combat style versus your original roll, and so I'll go ahead and do that. And you're using the same sized weapons, I believe. What's the size of your weapon, just to be sure?
I think it's a medium. It's a battle axe. Yeah, it's a medium.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're using the same size weapons. There's no modifier there, and so the opponent's weapon is flung a distance equal to the roll of the character's damage modifier in meters. So what's your damage mod?
Damage modifier is 1d2.
All right, so his weapon is basically behind you over here.
Alright.
All right, and so those two guys, the other bandits are holding their actions, basically doing a dither, and now we go to main guy. He's going to attempt to withdraw. Let me see here. Alright, yeah, I believe in this situation he can move. Going to make a tactical withdrawal and try and get away from some of the nonsense that has suddenly befallen him in his camp. And that will be that action. And so now we are back to Brarnir.
If I just run, I can still attack, right? Do a sprint that you can attack, or can you not attack after runs too?
You can run and attack. You cannot sprint and attack.
Alright. I guess I'll run up to this one and attack.
Yep, you can do that. Just move yourself up. You can go ahead and roll your combat style to try and hit him.
I think I have it set up for attacking with my pick.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you have it set up there. The let's see. Normally you'd have training and experience. But I don't know.
So I was trying to read through and set it up while you guys were doing your rounds, but I didn't know what to do for the training and experience.
Yeah. Let me pull up the character creation, see if I can think of something real quick. Yeah, we can either because of this situation, it seems like there was some confusion about character development. So for this, for these certain exact circumstances, you could just spend your 2 XP rolls and then do 2 character advancements on your pick. If you, that's one solution maybe we could do. Otherwise, we can just ignore it for now, and then after this combat, you can basically go back through character creation and try to fix it.
If I can still use it as it is now, so right, it
Yeah,
wouldn't be any different than unarmed.
yeah, yeah. For now, you can just roll it. It'll be no different from unarmed. Normally, so yeah, basically the way the combat in this game works is if you say, "Well, I want to pick up a chair leg and I want to beat someone in the back of the head with it," then you would roll unarmed and you would be at a penalty because it's not something that you've ever trained to do. But you could make up a combat style called Tavern Brawling, and your weapon for that combat style you could put down like improvised tavern furniture and stuff like that. And then you would be able to hit someone with a chair leg at no penalty because you have that combat style that you can roll. And then you can also train in that combat style. Um, and same thing goes for like throwing a rock. You would just roll unarmed and then give yourself like a half skill penalty. And if you're trained in a combat style that is similar to what you're using, so if you're trained in spears and you're using a halberd, then that's like a 25% penalty rather than a half penalty. So that's kind of how the system works as far as combat skills go. So for now, you have your Harvest Life combat style. You can just it has 0 training and experience, whereas normally you'd have to have training and experience. But for now, we can just ignore that. You can roll Harvest Life at no penalty, and then after the session, you can we can either fix it or you can put some training into it, if that sounds good to you.
All right.
All right. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I think he's going to attempt to parry. All right. So I believe these are both failures. Let me just look up to verify what that means on the rolls table. And yeah, so this is no benefit. So basically, Bronir has he's engaged this brigand, and they're swiping at each other with the pick and the club, and neither one of them actually managed to land a hit. And so I think that'll be it for the that exchange, unless you want to use a free action, Bronir. All right. So now we're back to Harold.
All right. So have we gone a full cycle yet, or is this something else?
This
So, just so I know if
Yep, we're next cycle.
do I have full action points now?
Oh no, we're not at the end of the combat. Um, it's each time it cycles. We cycle around until the end of the round of combat, and then we begin a new round of combat.
All right. Well, these rules make no sense, but I'm sure it's cool. All right. So with the risk of eating every goddamn attack of opportunity known to humanity, Harold's gonna charge the asshole who ran away and take a swipe at him again.
All right. Yeah, I think you can do that.
It's within my run distance, so I just run up and swipe him.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
I'm assuming there is some attack of opportunities happen as I'm running away.
I seem to recall something about that. I'm looking it up now. But the book tends to be more reliable than my memory, is my experience.
I mean, I would say that entirely depends on the topic, you know.
Yep.
I would not rely on this book if I needed anime knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there is going to be something flex with this. Let me see here. Yeah, and I'm gonna do a little bit of retroactiveness here, um, just to see how this works because I the guy you're fighting, the guy who you're chasing down right now, I had him withdraw, and I think he should have rolled something in order to withdraw without giving you an attack. But let me finish reading. Yeah, I'm reading on page 108 if you're curious. Okay. Yeah, so there's a range system in this game, which I'm aware of. So, for example, if someone has a long pike and you have a dagger, then you want to be really close to them so that they can't use their weapon effectively and you can use yours very effectively. And there is a system for that where you can't just withdraw if you're attacking someone and both of your weapons are locked with each other. In your case, when he ran away, I don't think either of you were doing anything to each other as of yet.
No, it was essentially me just running up there.
Yeah, and withdrawing um, seems to be um, you're basically related to two people who are in the midst of fighting, or you're facing each other and everything like that. And so yeah, I think the two guys that you were with, they could have an opportunity to hit you, and bear in mind one of them is disarmed. If you decide to leave without using the outmaneuver, evade, or change range actions first. So you can do that if you want.
All right. I think change range then. I think I would have to read that real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up too. Oh, it's a yeah. Uh, okay, so if you wanna try, so there are two things to consider. If you decide to withdraw, withdraw by extending the range out. So you're basically doing what is described in like a Rogue Trader and D&D and so many other games, where you're basically doing like a guarded retreat so that they can't hit you. Then you would both match evade skills in an opposed test. If the character initiating the change range wins, then you basically you get away and you're able to move your run distance in whatever direction you wish. Um, and if the opponent wins, then the range is maintained.
All right.
And if you decide, well, I don't care about withdrawing, I'm just going to run away, then you will match an opposed roll of the combat skill versus the running away characters. It'll basically he'll roll his combat, you'll roll your evade, and that'll determine if they hit you while you're running. Is I think how it
All right.
works.
All right. Yeah, if that's the case, then I'm just gonna run. Like, I don't care about trying to do it properly. I just that the target is running away, and I need to close the distance as fast as possible. So all other concerns are secondary.
Okay. All right. So I will. If you want, you can go ahead and roll evade, and I'll roll for them to hit you, and then you can run up to Zig.
Ow.
Ow.
Yeah, there is no real point in doing a luck because I probably can't beat that.
Yeah, bait is not too good, unfortunately.
Well, the bright point is I'm in range, and the guy I'm fighting knocked me away from him, so I don't have to worry about shit.
Yeah, so I guess both of them gets an attack of opportunity then, and one of them is disarmed or unarmed rather, so they can do a grapple attack.
Yeah, on the bright side, the unarmed guy failed to get a hold of you.
Oh, that's good. Alright, so the one with the club then. Rolling again.
Yeah, I'm trying to choose. He gets 2 special effects, and I'm looking at those right now.
Alright. But am I still so unless you choose something that makes me stunned, do I still move the distance or do I still get stay put there?
Yeah, we'll resolve this and then see if you can move. Normally, I think you should be able to move. I think he's gonna do
Alright.
a bash and a stun location.
Well, there goes the left arm again.
Well, that's pretty bad. But I'm curious here because that's the arm where I have a shield strapped. So wouldn't that do something?
Yeah, it's let me see on your character.
And I did get the arm functional at least, so he can use the shield.
Yeah, you have AP6, so the club bounces right off.
It probably hurt like hell since your arm was broken.
Yeah.
So let me see bash because it might not do anything considering. Yep. So it's every point of damage inflicted. So the bash is nullified, and you're not going to get stunned. Let me check this. That look. Yep. He did not overcome your armor points, and there was no damage inflicted. So stun location does nothing, and bash does nothing. And so you're able to move your full distance and use your attack action.
Alright, cool. Well, that's a standard success at least.
Alright, he's going to attempt to parry with a short sword and buckler. And so let me check the chart. Yep, so you have a success and he has a failure. And so that's one level of, that's one special effect that you can put on him in addition to your attack if you want.
Is he wearing a helmet right now?
Yes, he is wearing it actually looks to be a chain helmet.
Well, that's a bit sturdier than I was expecting. Oh, that's cool. If that's the case, then I'm gonna. Uh, I don't know what would be a good one here. I think maybe Sunder. So I roll hit location damage, and then yeah, then there's gonna be some damage to the armor as well.
Yeah, let me that just sure. Yeah, so with Sunder, it's designed for dropping the AP value of the armor. It won't if you break the armor, then any damage that spills over will damage him. So you can do that if you want.
Yeah, no, I think the better option here would be to. Yeah, the better option here would be to just use bleed, because we can't have this dude run away. So if I bleed him, then there's gonna be some prolonged damage to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll choose bleed as my special.
All right. So go ahead and roll your location and damage.
Of all the times to roll super low.
Character sheet is acting nuts. Okay, so yeah, you actually managed to pierce his armor a little bit, and so you do 1 damage. And let me see. Yeah, so bleed. You have to penetrate the armor to do bleed, which you managed to do. So now he has to make an endurance check versus your original attack roll. So let me go ahead and do that.
And that was a standard success.
Alright, so I believe he fails. Alright, so now he is bleeding, and starting next round, he will start taking fatigue damage until the wound is staunched.
Alright. Yeah, and I think as Harold slashing him, he says, I need a stone. We were hired to get it. Give it to me and I'll let you live.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he seems to be pretty shocked at the gash in his leg, and he just sort of spits off to the side and doesn't respond.
How rude.
Don't worry, Varg will teach him what for.
All right, and so I believe that'll be it for Harold, and now we're at Varg.
And since my foe pushed me away from him, I'm gonna run up here and poke the main guy with my spear. Oh,
Holy
nice.
shit! Yeah, he's gonna try and parry that definitely. I don't think that's he has much of a option not to.
Basically, all you do is stack max damage as hard as you can, and then you just win.
You know, I gave this guy so many cool longbow abilities, and he's not going to get a chance to use any of them now. Alright, so Varg gets 2 levels of success, so you can choose 2 special effects that you can put onto him. in addition to your roll if you want.
All right, I'm gonna do choose location, aim for his chest, and do impale.
All right. So you can go ahead and roll location and then roll damage twice, and choose the bigger one for impale.
I got 7.
All right, and let's see. So you do 7 damage to his chest, which does manage to penetrate the armor, and so now he is impaled, and basically that's you're just frozen there with your spear in his chest. Next round, you can attempt to you either choose to leave the weapon in the wound, or you can pull it out starting on next round, next cycle, and let me see if there's anything else I have to roll. Alright, I think that's it. Yeah, so he has a spear in his chest, and you can hear, one of his lungs has collapsed as he sort of gasps out, and he comes out as this sort of whistle. And then that's that. He's still standing for the moment, though. Anything else you want to do, Varg?
Give me just a sec. Did I try to maybe lift him up in the air on the end of my spear?
Let me think. I bet you can do something like that. Are you looking to basically just keep him from running? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as he's impaled, he can't do any sort of change range or withdrawal action, as long as you're holding the spear, which right now it's assumed that you are. Next round, you can choose to let go of the spear, and when I was reading the rules, it looked like you can even evade and do other actions while holding the spear. The only thing you can't do is parry with the weapon. So yeah, you're already keeping him from going anywhere.
Because basically what I want to do is that right there that I just posted in Discord.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. Starting with next round.
Which would be intimidating as fuck to everybody else here.
Yep. All right. So we'll go over and see what the bandits think of all this.
Where is Bromner? He's too well camouflaged.
Hiding.
I can see him. Give me just a second.
Here he is.
Yeah, he's up there.
Actually, what am I doing? This is insane. Hold on. All right. I just did that thing that I always hate when my characters in Dawn of War do, where he puts away his bow and takes out his club and then goes into melee with the Viking.
Yeah, no, that's probably not the smartest thing.
Alright, so I'm going to start. Two guys are going to attempt. Actually, this guy has used all his actions, but this guy in the back is going to attempt to bonk Rarnir in the back of the head. Yep, and he fails to do so. Now, here's an interesting mechanic in Mithras. Brarnir can either accept 0 bonkage, or he can actually attempt to parry a failed attack roll for the purposes of putting a special effect down. The downside of which will be that it'll cost an action. So, is there anything you want to do with that, Brarnir?
There's no other bandits that are gonna move between now and my turn, right? There's just the guy who was trying to run, and it'll be my turn again.
Yeah, if you wait till your turn, you can just do an attack action on him, basically. Another bandit is going to attempt to shoot you, but that'll be it.
Nah, I'll just take the 0 damage.
Alright. And now these two guys. One of them runs over and picks up his club. The other one takes out a short bow and attempts to shoot Harold. Because, God knows Harold hasn't been through enough today.
Yeah, just remember to hit the left arm as well, you know.
Also, do any of these guys have shields?
Nobody. Actually, the main guy has a buckler. He's the only guy that has a shield.
Damn it, he has a better shield than me.
Yep.
But he is currently impaled, so that's not happening.
He had some pretty nice armor, too, before he was impaled and sundered. A lot of good that did him. So let me see here. Yeah, he's gonna shoot using Ranger's Draw. Oh, man, okay.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Let me see here. If you have any actions left, you could try to evade by dodging out of the way. Actually, you could also parry with your shield, only because you're not engaged with the guy in front of you. So you could choose to do that, I think.
Yeah, but I don't have any action points left, I think.
Oh, you don't? Okay, yeah, you're just going to...
I don't know when they refresh. Because apparently how I thought it was done isn't the case.
Actually, under the reactive actions thing, it says only one reactive action is permitted to counter each threat, but any number of reactions may be made per cycle.
Yeah, the reactions still cost an action point. It just means that you can't run an attack, but you can parry 4 times as long as you have the action points to spend.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, like what it says in the book, you can spend a luck point for a desperate measure, which gives me 1 temporary action point for this, so I could do that. But I think it's not going to be terrible at all, so I'll take the attack. I'm not too worried.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They didn't even crit me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking through the process here. So Harold, he spent an action to run. He spent an action to disarm, to run over to here and attack this guy. Okay. Yeah, so you're just gonna take the shot.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we are going to go with a choose location and an impale.
Interesting.
And choose location is only available to ranged attacks on a critical, and impale is available on bow weapons.
But did they roll a crit though?
Yeah, the little star on the bottom, and he rolled 9 out of 100.
Well, I didn't know that. That's cool.
So, let's see, I'll roll 2 damage, and it'll be a headshot, I think is how I'll count it.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. So it's 2 damage on the head, and you can take armor into account for this. So it would have to penetrate your armor in order for the impale effect to work.
No head armor.
Alright, yeah, so you have... It's a small arrow, and it's basically... You know, it's probably going through an ear or something like that, because it hasn't really done very much damage to you. It hasn't penetrated the skull or anything. And it's just sort of it may be a skin and muscle deep wound, and it gives you a 1-step penalty to all skills until it has been removed. Removing it will also cost a little bit of damage.
Alright.
Alright, so let's see. Oh yeah, and these 2 guys are going to attempt to shoot Varg, so I'll go ahead and roll for them, and that'll be the end of their action. Alright, so that's 2 successful attacks. If Varg has any actions, he could attempt to evade one of those.
Could I evade by kind of shifting him in between me and them?
Let's see. Yeah, as far as I can tell, you can evade while holding the spear, and so if you want, yeah, you can shift him around in the other direction.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll shift him in between me and them. You basically use him as a meat.
Yeah, you'll still have to roll your evade skill in order to not take damage, but that's what you can do. That's definitely what you can do.
Hope for the best. Oh my god. Oh my god, I actually did. Holy shit.
Yeah, so
Holy shit.
because you crit, I will say, yeah, he ends up shooting his own dude. You just moved it right in the way of the arrow to catch it.
I literally only have a 16 in that fucking skill.
All right, let's see. That's 1 damage in the right arm. Yeah, so the arrow, it doesn't even penetrate the guy's chainmail, but he, you know, doesn't hit you, so that's what matters, I suppose. Alright, and then the other guy, which is still going to hit you, unless you have, I think you've already spent 3 actions, so you're probably out for the rest of the cycles.
Yep.
Okay. And so the other guy is going to, let's see, standard success. Alright, he's going to do Marksman, which is going to allow him to shift the damage, the hit location over to any adjoining body part. So he's going to move it from your chest up to your head. Alright, so that's 6 damage to the head.
Ow.
Yep, ow indeed.
Fortunately, I have armor on my head. I got 3 armor.
Alright, so the leader, he's going to take 1 fatigue because he's bleeding. Now he is winded, which is what happens to you when you have a spear going through your body and a grievous X wound. And so I'm envisioning this where you're just lifting him up in the air, and he's just had an arrow, you know, basically bounced off his chainmail, and another one fly, probably past his head and into your head, and now he's going to basically grab the spear and attempt to pull himself off of it. Let me see the roll here. Alright, so this will be an opposed brawl roll, I believe. So I'll go ahead and roll that, and you roll as well. Assuming you want to fight his attempts.
Yep.
Alright. Yeah, I'll call that a failure. So he's still on the spear. No change in situation. And that'll be his action. And so now it's Brownier's turn. And I believe Brownier had 1 action left because he was going to use 1 to parry inches to save it.
I would use that for my new 3.
Yeah.
Let's go for an attack.
Alright. Yep, and they're out of action, so they can't parry. And, hold on. Actually, I think this would be... Let me check the chart. Yeah, so I guess this would count as both of you failed, so you just didn't manage to land the hit. You can spend a luck point or wait till you get your actions refreshed.
I mean, it was just my last action from last round, so I'm not going to bother with luck pointing.
Yep. And, alright, so I think we are cleared up for everyone's actions. Does anyone have any actions left?
Nope.
Right. So now we're starting over a whole new, basically, round of combat. So the first cycle will begin with Brarnir.
Do we have our points back now?
Yep, all the action points are now refreshed.
This is some convoluted shit, man. What the hell? Alright. Well, at least we're winning so far.
Alright, well, they seem to have things on lock over there, so I'm just going to keep fighting these guys.
Alright.
I'll use a luck point since I haven't used any yet.
Alright, so I think he's not going to bother to parry that. So he'll save his action. Is there anything else you want to do as free action or anything?
Nah.
Alright. Now we go down to Harold.
Okay, so the leader seems to be in a good position not to mess around. So I think Harald's gonna run up the hill, brandishing the axe, and dispatch at least one of the archers to put an arrow through his face.
Alright. Yeah, you can go ahead and roll your combat style if you want.
That is indeed what I want to do.
Alright, he has a bow in his hand, and so he's going to have to resort to unarmed in order to parry. Alright, and he fails. So I believe you get one special effect you can inflict on him if you want.
Okay, so there's one here called press advantage, and the too long didn't read. Says the attacker is the opponent becomes unable to attack on their next turn. Essentially, the attacker to establish an unbroken sequence of attacks. So, would that be something I can do?
Yep, you can. Yeah, you can just simply apply that, and they won't be able to attack next round. And then you can roll your location and damage, and as usual, except they won't be able to attack.
Yeah, so 4 damage to the right arm.
All right, yeah, you nick his right arm really badly, and in your sort of violent flailing of the axe around, you've sort of suppressed him, so he's not going. He can still, move and evade and spend action points, but he won't be able to make any offensive actions next round.
Good. So no rap battles will ensue on this hill.
Yep, that's true. All right, and so unless there's anything else, we can go down to Varg.
That's it.
Now, since I've got this guy impaled, can I try to do compel surrender on?
Yeah, I was actually going to sort of invoke a little something like that. I got barkers in the background. Yeah, if you want, you can spend this action. Normally, Compel Surrender is a special effect you get from a damage roll. If you want to, you can either pull the spear out violently and do a little bit extra damage, or you can spend your action trying to intimidate him, and then we can do a Compel Surrender roll.
Yeah, I'll try to intimidate him.
Alright. So I believe this will be an opposed willpower. And I'll go and I think you crit on your roll. I can scroll back up to it, but that's basically what he'll have to roll willpower against.
Yeah, I got a 2.
Nice. All right. So yeah, you just lean in close and basically tell him to surrender and call his men off, I assume.
What I say is, tell your men to toss their weapons into the fire and surrender. Give us the stone and your shield, and we'll let you live.
Yeah, so you say this, and he sort of, slides a bit down the spear, which elicits sort of, sort of a shock from him. And then he says, all right, boys, we've had, this is it. Go ahead and give them what they want. And all his men seem to comply. Um, the ones who aren't actively engaged immediately throw their weapons down, and the ones who are actively engaged attempt to withdraw themselves.
Seeing that, he'll set the leader down.
Yeah, and as the archers, as Harald sees the archers on the hill there, like try to back away and drop their weapons, he stops his flailing around with the axe and just gives him a stern look.
All right. So yeah, you can end combat at this point if you want, and decide what you want to do of this lot.
What is Bromner doing?
I'm probably gonna keep my weapons out, just in case I need to try anything funny, but I'm gonna head over to Varg and see if he got the stone.
Yeah, Harald does the same. He walks down the hill, still weapons out, while he walks down next to the leader.
Yeah, if you question him about the stone, he I think he still has the spear going through his chest, and so he's sort of he has this wheezy this sort of high pitched wheeze every time he inhales, and he says, "The stone is in the cart over by the fire."
Why did you take it? What do you know about it?
He says, Peyton hired me to oversee this dig he was doing over in an abandoned mine up north. He, I worked for him for a few years, and and another buyer appeared one day, offered me 4 times the amount that Peyton's been giving me, and so I figured I could sell it and then move up north and see if I could pay off some old debts that I owed.
Yeah, Harald walks up to the cart or the crate or whatever it is and have see if it's open.
Yeah, it's just a rickety cart. Most of it is camping supplies, and but you can search through it for a few seconds if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, you eventually find a bundle of cloth, and when you know as you undo the bundle, it reveals this object.
It looks like a scroll.
As you handle it, it feels as though it has the porous quality of bone that you're very familiar with, but it's hard as metal and has a shiny shininess to it that you've never seen in bone before.
All right. Yeah, so he grabs it gently, tucks it back into the cloth, puts it in his shield hand, just resting there, and then walks back to the leader.
Varg looks to the leader and says one more thing. Wraps his knuckles on the guy's buckler and hand it over.
Yeah.
So while we're pilfering about and they're intimidatingly standing next to the leader, what is the rest of them doing?
Yeah, so the others, they are sort of gathered. Um, if they're keeping their distance from you, but they're hanging out nearby. Most of them are either unarmed or idly standing there.
Okay. Yeah, does he hand over the shield?
Yeah, he hands over the buckler.
Yeah, and as Arg spends a hot moment to strap that on, uh, Harald hands him the stone so he can hold it. And he faces the leader and he says, look at me.
Yeah, he looks over.
Yeah, and Harald reached out a hand on his chest where he got impaled, and then he's gonna, with his other hand, grasp the holy symbol and channel some divine powers. See if it works. Just utter the prayers.
So what are you trying to do?
Some absolute bullshit. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh wow, nice. And
Yeah, so I'm channeling the heal wounds, unless he has a serious wound or less.
You're healing the wound while the spear is still.
Yes.
All right. Um, let me see. What do you know where in the book that is?
Yes, it's on page 188. Heal wound. And if it's a major wound, so basically the negative total value in the negatives, it's basically a stabilize him from dying. Otherwise, it fully heals that location.
Yeah, you know what's funny is as fucked up as he is, he actually doesn't have a serious or major wound yet, and so you actually managed to heal him up completely.
That's
Yeah,
gonna make getting the spear out hurt a lot.
Yep.
he's still bleeding from the leg as well, so it takes more and more fatigue.
Yeah, actually, the spear wound would clear up because it's related to the damage that's involved. But he does still have a spear in him that has to be removed at some point. So yeah,
Varg's gonna look at Harold and go back to the leader and look down at the spear. It's like, it's gonna hurt. He pulls the spear out.
yep. That does so that does a set amount of damage, and it's equal to half of the max damage of the spear.
Yep. Which is D10. That's 5.
All right, yeah. So that does him a number, but he so yeah he lets out a cry at that, and then he just says he just nods in appreciation. What else can you do? He says so you all look like foreigners. You working under somebody out here?
We just took a job from the guy you stole the stone from. Otherwise, we're just here trying to make our fortune.
I see. Yeah, I was moved here when I was much younger and grew old in these woods. Um, you might be able to ask about me if you meet with any of the greenhorns up north. But yeah, all I'll say is you managed yourself well in this fight.
You should have seen the ghoul pirates we fought on the way up here.
Yeah, he sort of nods and doesn't say anything. You can tell that he's maybe a little bit surprised at hearing that.
Or, uncomfortable by the fact that he had a spear stuck in his chest.
Yeah, I was gonna say under normal circumstances he might be like, ah, that's bullshit, but there are 3 people that just beat the shit out of him and impaled him. So he's just like, oh, you know what? That probably happened, guys. I like you. Yeah, so he is there anything else you guys want to do while you're out here?
I guess Harald will ask if it was only money that drove you from this person's employ. What can you tell us about him now that we are apparently working for him for this short mission?
He says, oh, Peyton. There's not much to tell, really. He's a bored rich guy, works for some sort of shadowy secret society. I never really took much of what he said too seriously. Yeah, he barely ever spends any time out in the woods, but thinks he knows about every plant and tree out here. And he seems like a fool, honestly. But he always paid well, so me and my men worked for him for a while. And the only reason I took this payday is because I feel like eventually he's going to get him and everyone who works under him killed. and at the same time, I have some debts up north that I have to pay.
Fair enough. An honest living is an honest living. Unfortunately, we have to live as well.
Yep, that's how it goes. These woods are pretty intimidating for a lot of foreigners. I don't see a lot of you out here, but you know, with all the stories and everything about the creatures out here. But for people born out here, this is pretty much our home. We feel more uncomfortable back in the mainland.
At least we don't have to bow and scrape for any king. So that's a plus.
Yep, that's true.
Varg perks up and says, "Speaking of creatures out in the woods, might you know of any nearby?"
He says, "Oh, there's quite a few beasts in the woods. I wouldn't venture too deep into the mountains. I don't ever go there myself, but some of the rangers up north, uh, the they say that no one ever comes back from the mountains. One of the first things we learn out here, you foreigners may not be aware, the mountains are a forbidden area for us, though I don't exactly know why."
I'd imagine it'd be hard to know why if nobody ever comes back to tell.
That's true. He also says, let's see, pull this up. Yeah, he mentions a man by the name of Dar Malzander. I'll go ahead and put that in chat. Yeah, so he says, yeah, you may not be aware of this man. They don't talk about him too much in the you know, in the port city. He's the one that runs the goings on in the north. They say he lives near the mangroves, but I've never been to his personal abode. But you should definitely watch out for him. Yep. So, anything else you guys are wanting to do here?
I think at least for Har's part, he's done here. He got the stone, and yeah, it was good. It was a decent scrap.
Well, Var makes the turn away, but then he stops, turns back around to look. Says, "This was just a job to us, so no hard feelings. And if you feel the same way and come across any lucrative jobs in the future, you know what we're capable of. Need some extra hands. Name's Varg."
He says, I can tell that we have an understanding. I am Zadar the Greenhorn. Now, you guys, this will go to an after, to a, this will play into the background system in this game. You only killed 2 of these guys, which is, you know, I mean, that's something, but it could have been a lot worse. And you didn't loot all of their wagon and camping supplies and all that. So rather than making an enemy today, you can go ahead and put Zadar the Greenhorn on your contact list, and he'll be, you know, mostly, maybe slightly less than indifferent, in fact. But he's now a guy you can keep track of if you want.
All right. Yeah, and I think as Harald starts walking towards the overpass or the thing that goes over the creek, he turns around to all of the guards, looking at them and say, "You fought well today, and as a reward for your service, you will keep living. Walk the crimson path, my sons, and we shall meet at the gates." And with that, he turns around again and walks off, waiting for the other by the tree line.
All right. Yeah, they.
Varg nods the leader once more, and he walks away.
Yeah, the some of the woodsmen, they don't know what to make of the situation, but Zadar seems to be pretty impressed with you guys. You know, leaving. You know, basically taking off after you got your stuff, after you get your stone, and you know, not killing them and ransacking the camp. He seems to be somewhat surprised by that, and you guys part ways.
And I think as we cross the creek and starting toward like deeper into the forest, I think I say to no Harald says to no one in particular, we really need to make a fire. These boots have frozen over.
Wonderful.
And I do believe it's been more than 15 minutes, so an endurance test here to test for hypothermia.
Yep, right before you get a fire started, you can go ahead and do an endurance test.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Varg pulls out his flint and tinder kit and starts gathering some dry brush.
All right. Yeah, so
Oh, and before we leave, Varg goes back over to the waterfall and gets his grappling hook. And
oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you can go ahead and recover that. Yep, and so yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and roll a survival, that'll probably cover you from now until you get home, including making the fire and all that.
Yeah, and we also have the frozen carcass that we butchered along the way to get you.
oh
And
yeah,
then
we
we
got half a deer to pick up on our way back.
yes, we have some camp food for the day we're traveling as well.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when you got the deer. In the book, they describe it as an abundance of food. So I ruled that would be enough food for you to eat on this entire journey. Plus, you could probably sell some when you get back.
That's got to be pretty solid there, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's normally a successful survival check. You just get enough food for the day. So that would be like 2 rabbits or some fish or something like that. So a crit would be you know, a whole deer. You can eat half of it during your your 2-day journey. The other half you can either keep for more journeying or sell. But yeah. So let me look at survival to see what this is, unless you want to luck point it.
Let's see what it is first
All
before
right.
I look point it.
Harold sounds like Godzilla moving through the woods, apparently.
I mean, I'm literally carrying like 10 kilos of ice on each boot.
Yep. All right. So yeah, on your way back, the wind picks up and the cold becomes a lot more noticeable. And you try to set up a fire for a little while, and you're just not getting any luck. There's the moss in this area is apparently soaked with some sort of briny water that extinguishes the flames, and so you have to move camp. And this is taking up time as the weather gets worse and worse. And so, if everybody can roll an endurance check right now.
Can I improve
Was
that by just spending a luck point to reroll?
Oh yeah, you can do that.
was there any downside to my failed endurance for the
That was a little
exposure
better.
test?
The one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would move you down the track to winded, I believe, unless you're already winded.
No, I was fresh from that.
Okay.
Well, I got 1 degree better.
Oh my god. Let me see if there's a crit thing for endurance, just out of curiosity. There might not be, but I'll see. Yeah, in this case, not much. But just fun fact: if you suffer a fatal blow and you roll a critical on your endurance roll, then you can not only shrug off the wound, but basically be alive and active when you would normally be dead. So that's interesting.
That's pretty good.
So basically, it turns you into an orc and/or a space marine.
Yep.
Or an orc pretending to be in the Death Watch. Obviously spelled DUFF watch. Or
Yeah.
Wooch or whatever the hell.
All right. So, yeah, Kairos doesn't take any additional. Brarnir and let's see. Yeah, I think it's just Brarnir goes to winded for his fatigue. All right. Um, and so now one of you, and the way I'll do, uh, yeah, I guess one of you can try another survival and see if your luck improves. Yeah, so it's a rough trip home. I'll say by this point, given the amount of time as well and the situation, yeah, you can go ahead and dry off uh, Harold, and but you can and then start heading back home after you set all that up.
Alright.
And this battle took place in the early morning. So let me see here. Yeah, so you can immediately start hiking today. Um, you can wait for the weather to improve, or you can do any number of other things you want to do.
I mean, there is really no reason to hang around, so we might as well just start walking.
Yep, that's like a good plan. If you guys want to do anything else, Brunir and Varg.
And if we make it to the halfway point, that's where we found that excellent camp spot
Yep.
Yeah.
where we hung the deer at. So
All right, so you're gonna head out and start trucking. So everyone roll another endurance.
Would I still be winded at this point?
Yeah, normally winded wears off in 15 minutes, but these rolls are all happening right next to each other, so you're immediately gonna hit the road.
Ah, that's not good. That's actually really not good.
I'm using luck point.
Yeah, if traffic hadn't luck pointed that, then he would have become incapacitated. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so he just imagine Bronir goes from being super dwarf and then it gets a little chilly and he just suddenly goes comatose. That would be so hilarious. Alright, so anyone who has less than a standard success just moves one level up the fatigue track.
All right.
And this is basically, traveling throughout the day through the woods. Uh, you know, basically backtracking down the way you used to get out here, and until you're at the campsite that you established on your way out here. So, yeah, you can, it's a nice sort of location you have scouted out, and you can start the fire up and spend the night here if you want.
All right.
All right. And this, you can, I'll say you roll survival, and we just move it up. I'll say like 2 degrees, 2 levels of success, just to because this is an area you've already established. Yeah, so that's a success. So you guys, let me see how fatigued.
Harold is tired right now.
Barg's winded.
It's basically third on the tracker.
All right, so this will probably be 8-hour rest. So, if your recovery will, yeah, I think everyone will be rested up by morning.
All right.
All right, let's see. Um, I assume you guys want to take turns on a night watch.
Yep. Be right back in.
All right.
Yeah, it would probably be best, it's like random forest, middle of nowhere. Probably a good bet to have night watch. Yeah.
Don't want to close your eyes around here. There might be gnomes.
Nah, it's those goddamn owls I'm afraid of. No, so I get along great with. But when the owls start hooting, you know shit's going down.
Yeah.
Can I have a passion, hatred for owls?
Yeah, I mean, that's technically an option.
I just can't figure out why my character would have that.
Yeah, that is a very confusing thing to have.
Maybe a rival clan or something had an owl for a symbol.
And maybe that. Or maybe when he was a kid, he had like this a token coin or something from a faraway land that his parents brought him from a raid, and then he was out, hanging out. And then he was sitting with it one day, and then an owl just swept by and grabbed it, flew off with it somewhere, never got it back. Welcome back.
I guess Varg will take either first or third watch.
Yeah, Harald takes first watch.
And then Varg will take last watch then.
Alright, give me just a minute. Alright. So, was it Varg who's taking first watch?
Oh, Harald
was taking.
Harald, okay. Alright. So Harald basically just stays awake as everyone else goes to bed and the sun sets. Alright, and that's a really good perception check. So yeah, you stay alert during your entire watch. And are you just sitting near the campfire, or are you doing anything else for your watch?
You're probably trying to walk around a bit, keeping warm, keeping a lookout, so I don't get the eyes doesn't get blinded by the fire to see in the dark,
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you sort of walk around a bit to keep your night vision strong, and you don't really hear too much throughout the night. The ground is still frozen pretty solid, and there's a heavy padding of pine needles that you remember, hear from before, and not too much that happens throughout the night, and eventually, as the moon rises and the sky clears up a bit, even though the wind is still pretty harsh, it comes time to wake up the next person for the watch.
Yeah, so he wakes up Romner.
All right.
How much of my fatigue did I get rid of while I was sleeping?
I think that your fatigue would clear up in 1 hour, so you're probably back to fresh.
Yeah, it says on the right side there, on the fatigue level where you set that. On the right side it says recovers in some X amount of hours. So if you just were winded, then it was less than an hour, a couple of minutes at best. If you're tired, then it was an hour. And yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Alright, so Brarnir, if you take the watch, then you can do a perception check if you want. Alright, that's an excellent perception check. Alright. So yeah, you do you sit by the fire or do a little bit of walking around? Anything else?
I walk the perimeter until I start to get a little too cold, then I go back to the fire and warm up, and then just go back to walking the perimeter.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see, you don't see too much of anything. There's a couple of, you can hear almost like distant large animal noises. Something similar to maybe an elk or something making some sort of call out in the woods. But other than that, there's not too much that you make out. Um, the um, the temperature, continues to fall throughout the night, but the wind is still pretty harsh. So yeah, eventually it comes time to wake up Varg, and Varg, you can go ahead and do a perception check if you want.
I see
Nice.
everything. And Varg walks the perimeter too to keep his night vision going.
All right. Yeah. So Varg, you walk around the perimeter, and about an hour or two passes as the forest continues to be settled in and quiet, and the occasional animal call can be heard in the distance. The some clouds sort of obscure the moon, which causes sort of darkness to fall over the region, and you can see kind of downhill through the trees from where you are. And with this new darkness, it seems to reveal a small glowing torch-like light in the distance through the woods.
Is there any way I can tell basically how far away it is? Yes.
It might be. It's pretty far away. You can see trees that are maybe 200 meters from your current location that have it reflecting off of them. It's a bizarre light. It's not a very large or bright light. It's about as bright as a small torch, but it doesn't have the flickering that most torches give off. As the flame kind of reflects off of the trees. It's just a sort of bright, um, the bright constant light, small star.
Varg will move to where he's not silhouetted by their own campfire, and he'll keep an eye on.
All right. Yeah. Now that you kind of have an idea of where it is, uh, you do notice it seems to slowly move. Every so often. It doesn't necessarily move towards you. It just sort of wanders around in the position, in around that distance from your fire, and you continue like that for another hour or so. Is there anything else you want to do, or just keep an eye on it?
He'll just keep an eye on it. And he'll keep looking around, to make sure nothing else is coming out.
All
It's
right.
just basically just keep an eye.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just keep watching it, and the heavy cloud cover that covers the region. Eventually, the moon's light peeks out from under it, and as you're watching, the light, the glowing like bright star-like light, seems to dissipate and wither away to nothing as the moon's light washes back over it, and you don't see anything more like that for the next hour or two. And eventually, the sun rises.
Now, when the sun comes up, he'll start breakfast and wake up the other.
All right, and yeah, these sort of uh, camping encounters are more just to get, since this is like a 2-day journey, it's just to get um, sort of get us used to the system, and eventually we can start using some of the more interesting encounters as you guys get deeper into the woods.
And as they're sitting there around the campfire, the other two getting woke up and Varg's cooking, he'll tell them both about his experience last night. A cloud passed over the moon and it got really dark. I saw what looked like witch light in the distance.
Think you'd be able to find the spot in the daylight?
Maybe it's worth a look. Worth a look.
Is it on the way back to town or back the way we came?
I don't know. Was it DM?
Yeah, it's not that far from the campsite. It's like you could probably shout and talk to each other from where this thing was to the campsite. So it wouldn't really be an out of the way trip.
Yeah, Vargo go down there to where he thought he saw it at and look around.
Yeah, so there's a does anyone else go with Varg?
Yeah, I'll go since I'm interested in it.
And Harald stays by the fire.
All right. Yeah, there's you did as mentioned before, the light did kind of slowly move, and so there's kind of an area that you look through. You go to the area where you first saw it, and you don't really see much of anything in the woods, and then you sort of track the area where it wandered through the woods, and then there's sort of a smell that assaults your senses, like a smell of a blood and gristle that your characters are probably pretty familiar with, and you see what looks like a one of like the same type of Arctic deer that you managed to bag on the way here, except it's been basically like almost pulled apart, like it's four legs have basically been pulled apart with brute force, but fairly slowly though. Like the tendons have had time to stretch out as it was pulled, and it's not rotten. It seems to have just been pulled apart last night, but the just the sheer amount of blood and organs that have spilled everywhere uh, gives a pretty potent odor to it.
Well, whatever that light belonged to was strong.
Think you can salvage any of the meat?
I'll try. Would that be a survival?
Yeah, you could do a survival. Cut bits off and preserve it. Yep, you managed to bag a little bit of meat.
Little extra coin when we get back to town.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to do in the campsite, or do you want to go ahead and hit the road?
Now go ahead and hit the road.
Do we
Nobody
notice
says anything to the-
any tracks on the ground?
Yeah, you can. Do any of you have tracking, by any chance?
I don't.
No.
All right. Well, you don't see any tracks in the immediate vicinity of the deer, not even leading up to the corpse.
Yeah, before we head out, Harald's gonna commune with his patron deity again, see if he can restore some of his function to his arm, because not having that is a bit of a problem out here.
Yeah, you can hit that.
Oh yeah, I should probably do first aid on myself.
Yeah, so I luck point to that, so the second one is the one.
Nice.
And it's heal wound to my left arm, so
Let's see, that's
dumb question, but did we do I can we assume that I at some point pulled out that stupid arrow that I have sticking out of my back of my head, or is it still there?
Of course not, Hellforge. How would you notice that? No, it's yeah, you can pull it out. It will do
Okay.
3 points of damage to your head when you pull it out.
Can I try to remove it without yanking it out? Kind of maybe try to surgically do it.
Yeah, actually, you can do a first aid and try to remove it without removing parts of his brain as well.
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just it's in there good. You're gonna have to yank.
It's all good. I can deal with that. Just a minor flesh wound.
Okay, I did. I need to do. Fuck, I need to do it on mine because I took an arrow to the head too.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately I don't have any magic points left. So.
Because the first roll was to my right arm, because I took a wound there. Apparently, I'm going to have to yank the arrow out of my head too.
Were you impaled though?
Huh?
I don't actually think you were impaled. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay, so it's just. Okay, so it's just.
Yeah.
Did Bernier take any damage?
I took 0 damage and I did 0 damage.
Right.
Well, at least you contributed to the fight, so.
I mean, it is kind of funny because he was attacked by 3 people for 2 cycles, so it is kind of funny that as a result of that.
Yeah, look at it from the bright side in Death Watch. How many times were you almost dead by this point?
Right at the beginning.
Oh yeah, good times, good times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the last fucking Death Watch mission I did with the other group, my assault marine went through the entire fucking thing. Had to assassinate a Lord Militant on a Forge World because he was being a coward and holding back forces from engaging High Fleet Dagon. So the Inquisition tried to assassinate him, and all assassins failed. So they just basically removed all iconography from our armor and sent 3 Death Watch Marines in to kill the bastard. And so we went through fucking Imperial Guard and other Space Marines with fucking vengeance rounds. And I went through completely unscathed until we got to the end, where there was the Lord Militant, another guy there, a general, and then 2 fuckers in Terminator armor. And that's where I got tore apart.
Oh man, that does sound pretty cool though.
I held my own against the Terminators, but they just had too many fate points. Every time we got close to killing them, they burn one and go back to 0.
Yeah, I think you guys normally you'd probably have one more endurance check to get to town, but even if you failed it, you would recover it 15 minutes after being back in town. So I don't think we'll bother with that. The endurance, I think, will only be a major issue on like really long treks, where you might end up with 4 or 5 levels of fatigue and stuff can start getting really dangerous. So yeah, if you guys want, you can go ahead and put yourselves back in town.
All right, we are back in town.
Fresh venison to sell and stone to get.
Right. So you guys want to try and contact your employer first, or do anything else?
So
I guess we
did
just probably go to the tavern and we can sell the meat and try to get a hold of the guy while we're there.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So did Kyrus find out anything about the dude while the rest of the party was away dealing with this?
Yeah,
What 3 days we were gone.
yeah. You could do some rolls to ask around town, and there are a couple of methods you could use to go about doing this. Um, the most conventional way of doing this would be to roll influence. If you just want to go around and ask questions, try to get reliable information related to this employer. And if that doesn't sound good, then you could try like a customs roll if you happen to find a group of people like your own.
It's 2 days out and 2 days back, so you've got 4 days to check her.
No, we took the shortcut through the forest, right? Because Varg's survival thing to get there. So it was, instead of the 2-day trip, we took a 1-day shortcut. It
No, it
would
was 2 days
originally
because it
been.
would have been 3 days via road, and he cut a day off of it
Yeah,
by going straight.
yeah, it actually would have been about 4 days by road, and he cut it down to 2.
Yeah, because
Oh
by
yeah.
foot it was 2 days there, and
All right. Yeah, then I misremembered it. So. Do you want to do one roll for all or one roll for each day?
It'll be one roll for the entire absence in this case, I think, and unless you want to, well, you can say you spent the entire 4 days, and I'll say that moves you up, like a step of success, or you can try multiple things. So you could spend the first 2 days doing influence, and the second 2 days trying customs if you want to find a group of friends down here, and maybe they can help you with what you need.
No, I think just influence then. See if that works. Just for the whole thing, and then in the evenings, after he's like out during the day asking around, see if he can hear anything. Then in the evenings, like he spends his time cooking in the tavern, just helping out there. Yeah, so I'll luck pointed at the first roll, so it's a standard success right now.
All right. Give me just a moment.
Alright.
All right, and you said the last 2 days you spent just helping out in the kitchen.
No, what I said was I spent the 4 days during the day asking around,
Okay.
all over town, and then in the evenings, after the day was done, he spent a couple of hours helping out in the kitchen at the tavern.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so if you want, you can add 4 silver to your character sheet, and that'll be it would be 2 silver per day, and you're working at night, so you could say you made a silver per day at that rate, in addition to the result of this influence roll.
Alright, cool.
All right. And so, yeah, you ask over the course of the 4 days while the rest of the party is gone, and yeah, you manage to find a few people that uh, that know enough about Peyton and seem to have somewhat reliable information on him. So there is a he looks like a guy from the mainland who's just been here a few months. Eventually, get a table with him and start talking. He seems to be a traveling merchant from what he's talked about before, and he has some business here. A member of his family has bought stock in a shop that has um, in, has they basically export and import goods and handle some of the bureaucracy along those lines. And he's looking to get involved in some of the farmland out here. And he's here basically to make sure that his family's interests are satisfied. And so he starts talking. He says, "Oh yeah, that Trugast. He's a old Perdunton. Comes from the scholar. The not the scholar. Comes from the university in the capital. Um, I don't know him too well. What kind of information are you looking for?"
I was just curious. The people here call him noble, and something is a bit off.
Yeah, well, the folk around here aren't really used to nobility. Uh, Things are kind of, up in the air out here until very recently. He dresses well, but he's not actually from a noble family. Um, he's just a wealthy scholar, rose through the ranks in the academy. Um, got up into a bit of mischief in the mainland, and I think some of the courts up there were starting to frown on him, so he decided to relocate his efforts to a place more understanding of his hobbies.
That sounds about right. And I think, if there's no more information, that's pretty much what he wanted to know. So after that, it might be like light small talk for a bit before he shuffles off
Right.
to do something else.
Yeah, so if that's all for that little bit of downtime, then the rest of the party, I suppose, can enter town.
All right. Oh yeah. By the way, as in these few days, has Peyton been back at the inn at all in the mornings, his usual time?
He still stops in the morning. He's not pestering people about work anymore, though. It seems like he's just making small talk with some of the people in there. Still seems to be very much a business thing, but he's not urgently bothering people anymore. He's just wanting to know people's business and seeing what they're good at in case he needs to hire someone in the future, it looks like.
All right. Okay, I think unless there's anything we need to do out in the farmland, we arrive at the city gates. Is it early morning? Like what time of day is it as we're arriving?
It'll be in the evening when you get there.
Yeah, I think Harald will just head off to the inn then. If there is nothing we need to do in town, just grab a drink, uh, relax for a bit in the warmth.
All right. So, yeah, you guys. I don't think any of you know where Peyton lives. So your best way to contact him is to wait for morning, unless um, I'm forgetting something you guys know. So you can spend 2 silver and rent a room for the night if you want.
Hadn't hadn't I paid for a whole bunch of days?
I do recall this. Was it um, I have a couple numbers floating around my head in reference to that. So I can't remember if you paid for like 2 weeks or if you paid for 4 days. Do you happen to remember?
So I remember I paid for a couple of days first, and then we got this job, and we realized how much time we need to be out, and then I think I paid to extend. We would still have a place to stay at when we got back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, I'll make a note of this.
Sorry, I really should keep better bookkeeping.
Yeah, I'll put us down. I'll put you guys down for a week and 2 days for now, and I'll just count down a little bit better in the future.
Alright.
Alright, so you have 9 days left on basic accommodations for everyone. You can go ahead and rest after your excursion, and get your paycheck in the morning, basically.
Sounds good.
Check some.
Yeah, and I think unless there's anything that needs to be done the evening before, I think the morning after, when we're just sitting around waiting, I think Harald is just sitting down by the table he sat originally sat at when he first talked to Peyton, just having breakfast, and he has the axe laying on the table as well, very very obviously there in place. So it's been cleaned up, so there's no residual blood or anything on it. So he basically spends his time between eating and just polishing the axe or axe head.
All right. Yeah, and now there are a couple. Now that you've been out in the area, if you want, you can maybe try to build up a little bit of trust in the community out here. You can basically uh, keep all your information to yourself, which has a couple of advantages, or you can basically go into all the taverns and talk really loudly about all the stuff that's happened to you and gain a little bit of favor with some of the people out here, and maybe a few jobs from people who hear about you.
I don't know what information should we keep and what should we let flow. Because I think if we let people know that, I don't think we should tell people that the people we're sent. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with the situation honestly, because there's a lot of info that could be useful just float around, and other some small stuff could probably best kept secret.
Yeah, it's you could always postpone the situation, just not talk about it for now. But it's an option in the future. The way this would work mechanically is after a while, you'd eventually be able to write down the city Rakeng. The public would be written down under communities in your sort of background notes, and that would begin to basically accrue points over time. And so every time you did a major thing, you might get 1d3 or 1d6 points added to it, and then public favor can be rolled in order to avoid certain problems that might occur, and maybe get certain jobs that since more people hear about you. On the other hand, if someone is trying to track you down or find out, where you live or something like that, maybe information you don't necessarily want people to have, then that number would act as a bonus for them. So there are any number of strategies you could employ there.
Speaking of contacts, Varg is going to go find his little group of contacts and either ask them or have them ask around about any rumors or stories about lights in the woods on the darkest of nights.
Right. The All right, if you want to, you can go ahead and roll customs.
Roll what?
You can roll customs or influence if you want.
Systems.
Nice. Yeah, so you get along with them really well. Pretty well tonight. uh, the guys that you're drinking with are mostly sailors, the type of sailors that have too much money to risk sleeping in the Timber Hall slums, and so they come up to the area where you're at in the Stonefoot district, and they sleep in this fancier tavern designed to cater to sailors, and they say they have a bunch of different stories regarding lights out in the woods. Most of them are sailing stories though, but they not there doesn't seem to be too much information that helps you out there. Some of them say that seeing a light out in the ocean is a sign of good luck, and others say that seeing a light can lead you to a rocky shore, and you're not really able to find any useful information from this particular group of people.
Varg will tell him his tale. Sing when the cloud passed over the moon. That's when he noticed the light. And he watched it, and when the clouds eventually passed, and the light of the moon shone, light vanished again. And then in the morning, when they went down there to where it was, they found a deer that had pulled them.
Yeah, they're completely enraptured when you're telling that story, and but yeah, that none of them have heard of anything like that. They're fascinated though. Oh yeah, and we'll go ahead if you guys want. Um, you each collect, I'll say, 3 experience rolls, and Peyton drops by in the morning, and you guys can have any interactions you want with him, or you can go ahead and collect. You can hand over the item you've collected for the 400 silver if you want.
So he's splitting this evenly 4 ways.
Yeah, I mean, I see no reason why not, unless there is one I'm overlooking.
Oh, did we get any extra coin from selling the deer?
Oh yeah, let me look that up real Yeah, so you made let's actually let me check this real quick. Yeah, so you made 4 silver off of that deer.
We each get 101 silver.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't worth as much as I thought it'd be, to be honest. But yeah, it normally would be worth 2 silver because I was counting it as basically jerky, and 2 days worth of jerky is 2 silver, and what was it? And the food is worth double here, and so it's only 4 silver. But take what you get, I guess. Anyway, unless I was just wanting to get us to this point before we end the night. So you guys have your money. You have your +3 experience rolls marked down. And unless there's anything else, we can end it for tonight.
Yep. Go because I gotta get up at.
Sounds good. Thanks for the session, yeah.
Yep. Being here, guys. I'll see you probably Thursday or later.